I was quite impressed. I mean, really, this is speaking the same language as my constituents. It's what they wanted to hear. And again, she's emphasised the fact that she's a child of immigrants herself. She knows what a welcoming country the UK is. She wants that to continue, but she wants to see some fairness. And to get that fairness, really, we need to talk to our partners globally because this is a global issue. It's not something confined to the UK. And she's looking at maybe getting a solution to that and working together to go forwards with it.
The language is pretty, I guess, apocalyptic is the word that I'm sort of searching for. You know, nations which cannot control their borders will not long survive, saying that uncontrolled migration is existential. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think you need law and order. I think you need to have a situation where you're not getting that chaos of completely uncontrolled borders. And of course, we want to keep people safe. We want to make sure the people who are coming into the country are ones who want to contribute, who want to play fair, who want to live by our laws, who want to respect the values that we actually have there. And of course, there are a number of people who have very genuine claims for asylum, and we want to make sure that we welcome those and they're not being pushed out really by people who are effectively economic migrants who are asylum shopping.
I guess as my other thought on this as well is that Suella Braverman is using very evocative language. There's a lot of rhetoric coming out of the government as a whole when it comes to asylum seeking, when it comes to illegal immigration as well. But just looking at the record, I mean, we've spent so much time talking about the Rwanda policy, and so far 0 people have actually gone to Rwanda under the scheme. The Prime Minister and the Home Secretary standing in front of those, big lecterns promising to stop the boats, and the boats have not been stopped. Is the problem your delivery?
Well, I think there's no magic bullet or one particular policy that's going to solve it all. And Rwanda is one of those policies that we've got, and it's in the Supreme Court at the moment. I think if we do get the go ahead with that, it will make a big difference. But then we've been looking at returns agreements. We've got a very successful agreement with Albania now. That's one of the countries where we're getting large groups of young men really coming over. We're looking at cutting the backlog for it, and of course talking with other countries as well. We look at what's happened in Lampedusa. If you're looking at the United States as an example, you can see what the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, has been saying there. They've been having problems too. So it's about taking a pragmatic approach, really, recognizing that this is an international problem, but that we've got to look at practical reasons how we can solve it. Some of those are legal reasons, some of these are maybe international agreements, and that's why she's mentioned the Geneva Convention. Now, this is nothing new. You can go back to look at people like, say, Jack Straw or Phil Wallace, and even as back as 2009, Labour were actually mentioning themselves about people being free from persecution, but really a lot of this problem coming from people who are actually economic migrants. So I think this discussion has been going along for quite a while, and Suella Braverman really wants to raise it again and say that actually she's the person who wants to kind of lead a bit of the charge with this.
You see, that's the point, isn't it? She is positioning herself as a person to lead the charge on this. I did watch that speak and think, what's going on here? You'd think it would be the Prime Minister leading the charge to change international law, to get your partners on side around the world to come together on this. Do you think she'd make a good future leader?
Well, I think certainly she's a good Home Secretary. As mentioned, Jack Straw is another example.
That's not what I asked. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to come in. It's a nice attempt at a dodge. But what about, would she make a good Prime Minister?
Well, I've got a lot of time for the Home Secretary and a Red Wall MP, and as somebody who wants to be tough on immigration. But this is, of course, part of the Prime Minister's plan. One of his top 5 priorities was to stop the boats. So he's very much there with his blessing there, very much trying to push forward the government's policy on it. And I'm a lot more positive than other people, I think, Sophie. I genuinely think that we can win this next general election, and Rishi Sunak is the person who's going to do that for us. So I think too many are looking at it as a potential election defeat there and what's going to happen afterwards. But you see how the polls have been shifting. You saw the mess Labour got into last week with their immigration policy, how they're trying to look both ways on net zero. And this is the latest thing now. And when it comes to it, their policies, when they're scrutinised, they really, really struggle. So I think we can win that next general election with Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister. And of course, you need a strong Home Secretary, I think, to tackle the small boats issue. And I think Suella Braverman is that strong Home Secretary.
OK.